Welcome to the Stories Spot. Today's video dives into two unbelievable stories about boundaries and relationships. From a 31-year-old being called out for flirting with 19-year-olds to a boyfriend crossing a shocking line by scheduling a secret cosmetic procedure for his girlfriend. These stories will leave you questioning what's right and what's way out of line. Stick around to the end and let us know where you stand. Our first story today comes with a controversial twist. A 31-year-old man finds himself in hot water after flirting with a group of 19-year-olds and standing his ground when things take a sharp turn. Who's really in the wrong here? Let's dive in and find out. But don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more gripping stories. AITA for flirting with 19-year-old girls and defending myself when being called a predator. I'm 31 and recently ended a long-term relationship. I was broken. I recently went to this cool restaurant/bar downtown with one of my buddies to have a good time. Anyone of any age can come in. While we were there was a girl who was celebrating her 19th birthday. They sang happy birthday, and they were allowed an outside cake with 19 on it. The birthday girl was pretty, so I wanted to go chat her up. Her friends were super cute too. My buddy told me to leave them alone and that they looked like babies. He didn't want to go over at first, but since the breakup, every other woman but my ex has been invisible. So he went to wingman with me. We walked over and wished her a happy birthday. I thought things were going well, and the women were laughing. Then all of a sudden, one of the girls snaps at me to take a effing hint, R. Kelly. I was taken aback and just said, "Excuse me." She said to read the room and that they were uncomfortable. Another asked us to go away. I was going to go, but I was really bothered by the R. Kelly comment. I said it's effed up to call me a predator when we are all adults here. My buddy wanted to leave, but I stood my ground. The birthday woman said that it didn't matter. It's weird for someone my age to hit on them, especially when they make it obvious that they are uncomfortable. Then made another R. Kelly comment by asking if she looked like Aaliyah to me, which upset me again. I apologized for making them uncomfortable, but that didn't give them the right to call me a predator. One of the women said it was a personal problem. I said that adults are allowed to hit on the adults. It's not a crime. One woman just asked why I was still standing there and yelled at me to go away. I was pissed off, and when I left, their entire table was singing Remix to Ignition and laughing their asses off. I was furious and humiliated. When we sat back down, I was seething. My buddy said that it was my fault for not seeing the signs that they were uncomfortable. To him, it was obvious, so he wanted to go. He called me delusional. I pointed out that they were laughing, and he said it was just uncomfortable laughter. I told him that I had every right to be mad about being called a predator when they were all 18, 19. It's a horrible accusation. My ex was 6 years older than me. He said that they weren't calling me a predator, just weird for going for teens. He said it was wrong of them to sing after me, and that was bullying. But I should have left long before that. I felt like he should have stuck up for me. Was I wrong for sticking up for me, or for hitting on them in the first place? I was respectful and not creepy at all, too. This story is a tough one, but let's be honest. If you're 31, what do you really have in common with 18, 19-year-olds? Approaching them at all feels questionable and frankly gives off predatory vibes. While the storyteller claims to have been respectful, knowing their age should have been enough of a reason to steer clear. As for the girls, their reaction, singing Remix to Ignition and throwing around R. Kelly comments, might have been immature. But let's not forget, they're teenagers. They behaved how you'd expect someone their age to behave, which underscores the massive age gap here. Do you think the storyteller crossed a line just by approaching them? Was their response justified, or did they take it too far? And what about his friend? Was he right to call him out? Or should he have done more to de-escalate? Let's get the conversation going in the comments. In our first story, we saw a 31-year-old trying to justify flirting with 19-year-olds, raising serious questions about boundaries and age-appropriate behavior. Now, in our second story, we're diving into an even more shocking breach of boundaries. A boyfriend who schedules a cosmetic procedure for his girlfriend without her knowledge or consent. Let's get into this jaw-dropping situation. But before we do, don't forget to like and subscribe to The Stories Spot for more stories that spark discussion. My 24F boyfriend, 26M, of 1.5 years, just scheduled and paid for a cosmetic medical procedure for my lady regions without my knowledge or consent. What now? My boyfriend and I have been together for a year and a half. Overall, things are good. Occasionally, he has been overbearing, but he's working on it and has made great strides of improvement. We've lived together for around 6 months. The background. I have a mole on the outside of my vagina. It's about the size of a pencil eraser. It's never been a problem for me, and I don't mind it. It's hidden in even the skimpiest of bikini bottoms. Doesn't hurt or get in the way of anything. Isn't lumpy. Doesn't grow any weird hair, etc. It's just a harmless little bump on the side of my vulva that I've had since I was born. Even when I'm entirely naked, it isn't visible unless my legs are spread, so it's the kind of thing only me and my sex partners have ever seen. I've had an inkling that my boyfriend has never been a fan of this mole, but he won't admit that. Sometimes he'll absent-mindedly rub it between his fingers, with his nose crinkled, like an expression just short of disgust. But when I asked him about it, 2 different times, he insisted the not quite disgusted facial expression was unrelated. I assumed that he didn't like it, but knew it was none of his business or concern, and probably didn't want to say it because he didn't want to sound rude. He's asked me once if I've ever thought about removing it, to which I replied that it's always been a part of me, and I wasn't interested in removal. The problem: my birthday was a few weeks ago. I've been getting Brazilian waxes since I was a teenager. It's just my personal preference. As a birthday present, my boyfriend prepaid for almost a year's worth of waxes at the med spa I've always gone to. This seemed like a great gift, useful, thoughtful, and saves me a ton of money. This med spa does a variety of other services as well as waxing. They do tattoo removal, laser hair removal, makeup tattoos, Botox, etc. I've had a standing appointment there every 3 weeks for years. This morning I went to my regular appointment. My waxer, who I've known for years, gushed about how kind of my boyfriend it was to call in for my services, and we went about the wax as normal. There's an oil she uses that helps to soothe the skin after the wax, and I was waiting for that to soak in when she brought out a wand that I was not familiar with. I asked her what it was for, and she said, "The freezing." I assumed she was prepping for her next client and stayed on the table. Then she began wiping the oil off and applied a cream directly over my mole. At this point, I sat up and asked her what she was doing. "Oh, this cream helps to numb the area before I freeze the mole. Then we'll cut it off, and you'll just need a stitch or 2 and a bandage, and then you'll be ready to go." We fumbled through the awkward conversation that followed, and the bottom line is that my boyfriend had paid for my mole to be removed as well. $200. Without telling me. The receptionist who books the appointments assumed that I knew, and I signed a yearly waiver for all services from them, so it basically just slipped in. The receptionist said that my boyfriend asked about the process over the phone, so he was aware that this procedure involved cutting something off my body and would involve anesthetic and stitches. Guys, I'm furious and cannot tell if my reaction is justified or if I'm seeing red for no real reason. This feels like such a breach of my personal boundaries, not to mention disrespectful of my bodily autonomy. I know it's small, but it's plastic surgery. There is no medical backing to having this mole removed. It would be entirely cosmetic. I obviously didn't go forward with the procedure, and now I'm struggling with whether my anger is appropriate to the situation. I have not talked to him about this yet. It happened this morning, and I will be seeing him this evening when I get home from work. Right now, I'm thinking of breaking up with him, but feel like that may be an overreaction and can't tell if my judgment is clouded. What would be an appropriate way to address this situation? This is insane. The OP left an update. Let's go over it before I share my thoughts. First off, I just wanted to thank everyone for their support and validation of what I was feeling. I was second-guessing myself and feeling like I was overreacting. But after more reflection, and what happened later on in the evening, I feel so vindicated in my anger. I got home, and he nonchalantly asked me how my appointment went. I managed to stay calm and told him how angry I was that he had tried to arrange for the mole to be removed without my consent knowledge, especially because I found out that he was informed while booking the appointment that it would involve anesthetic and stitches. He said that he wasn't sorry because he thought he was doing me a favor by forcing me to bite the bullet and get it done. He said the only thing that he was sorry about was signing my name on the waiver, because he knows he should not have done that. Record scratch. Wait, what? At my appointment, my waxer had said something along the lines of, "But you signed the waiver?" When I was blindsided by her prepping for the mole removal. She was confused that I was not aware of the mole removal plan. I had assumed she was talking about the waiver I had signed just a few weeks ago, that I have to sign every year for my services performed at the med spa. I was in a hurry to get out of there, so I didn't press further, just made it clear that I did not want a mole removal and gathered my clothes and left. As it turns out, she was not talking about the annual general waiver. When my boyfriend booked the appointment, a waiver was emailed over, which he signed as me and sent back to them. We are in a South American country where plastic surgery is extremely common. I am the only woman in my office without breast implants. I was born in America and haven't quite subscribed to this aspect of the culture. So things are a lot more lax here than I imagine they are in the US. So not only did he schedule and pay for plastic surgery on my vagina, he forged my signature on a legal document, giving permission for it to be done. There is no coming back from this, and I told him so. He started crying and saying that he just wanted me to be the most beautiful I could be. Thankfully, I was too angry to cry in front of him, and I just told him to leave. He packed some clothes, and I put the rest of his belongings in a detached garage that he has a key to. I made him leave his house keys and told him that the garage locks would be changed by the end of the week. I own the house and am changing the locks on the doors this evening, except for the garage. I'm giving him this week to clear out the rest of his things from there. I have him blocked on social media and feel very refreshed, like a weight has been lifted. I'm sure I will be hurting later and missing him, but this showed me a side of him that I absolutely cannot live with. I may not be as tan, or as smooth, or as busty as all the women around here, but I deserve better. I know that much. And now, my mole and I are going to settle down with a bottle of wine and download Tinder. Thank you again for everything. This story left me absolutely floored. Let's break it down. The boyfriend's actions were a massive violation of trust and bodily autonomy. Scheduling a cosmetic procedure without her consent is bad enough, but forging her signature? That's crossing every possible line of respect and legality. His excuse of wanting her to be the most beautiful she could be is not only condescending, but reeks of control, disguised as concern. As for the storyteller, she handled this situation with admirable strength, kicking him out and asserting her boundaries. She deserves better than someone who sees her as a project to fix, rather than a partner to love and respect. What do you think? Was there any redeeming quality in the boyfriend's actions? Or was he completely out of line? And would you have reacted the same way she did? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We want to hear from you. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Make sure to hit that subscribe button so you won't miss any future uploads. See you in the next one.